Finally live. Sorry for the wait, you guys. And Fred says, hello. Awesome to see you. I love it when I see Fred. How's your life going? Let me put a little bit of wax in my squirrel cheek here. One sec. Almost done. I like to have it done before I turn it on, but you know how I am. There's so many things to do before you turn it on. Like I need to turn the fan on too. So 1 second. I think those were the last two things I needed to do. And then I'm good to go. The wax and the fan. All right. How is your day going, Fred, and anyone else who is listening? And thank you for being here. Trying to get through the very last chapter and a few pages before that, and then we're done with this book. Man, it's been really challenging reading the entire 367 pages out loud to you, but I've been down for the task. And I want to encourage everyone to buy the book. I'm certainly not trying to make money off of it. I don't make any money to speak of with my YouTube channel. Like I've literally, in the entire 3 years that I've had it, I think I've made somewhere between $500 and $600. And most of that, they haven't even paid me yet. Like, actually, most of it, I don't think they'll ever pay me. I think they've paid me like 200 to 300 total. Like it's that bad. And I think that's some of the shadow banning. So I'm going to get the fan turned on. I might, I don't want to pull the computer. 1 sec. Okay, fan is on. What happened to the rest of the wax? I had it. There it is. And then, of course, it fell to the ground. You know, things always fall to the ground. But then, you know, have you noticed when things fall, then they like take off and then you can't find it? It's like, it's amazing how far things can travel, especially if it falls onto a hard surface floor like wood or tile. So, Fred says, my email got hacked this AM, just changed my password. Well, it's probably because of all of the activity that you have on YouTube. Because, I mean, you're pretty outspoken, you're pretty charged. It might not seem like it because you're just you, but you are. You have a very, you're an advocate, dude. Advocate for Kylie, advocate for Trumpstein files. Hello, Annabise, my dear. How are you? Oh, no, Fred, I hope it turns out okay. I know. I mean, I get things hacked all the time. I just don't even care. You know, I'm not that dependent on my electronic stuff other than my YouTube. And that sometimes gets hacked too. But yeah, I mean, I'm only dependent on my YouTube for self-expression, connecting with my community, and staying up to date with all the crazy BS that you're not going to necessarily learn about on mainstream media. So let's just try to get right into this. I want to get the wax put in so that I don't have to deal with it midway, and then we'll get started. How's your day, Annabise? How's your recovery from being back at work over the weekend? And excuse me. Yeah. Sorry for being so gross. Not as gross as the Trumpstein files, huh? Not as gross as the obfuscation of the Trumpstein files. These people are such monsters. The gaslighting is so over the top, man. Hiding in plain sight. Still recovering, but it's getting better. Cool. Okay. So close. So close. Can't get it perfect, but maybe just a smidge more. I say I can't get it perfect because we all know nothing is ever perfect. I need to get back in to get these braces tuned up is what I really need to do. It's been like over a week, and I usually get in there at least once a week, if not twice a week, unfortunately. I'm kind of down with Marjorie Taylor Greene calling out little T, even though I don't like her. I know, totally. I think a lot of us are down with Marjorie Taylor Brown, you know, because grass, when it rots, it turns brown. That's what he called her. He's such a freaking nut, man. And yeah, she's been standing with the survivors for a while now, consistently, I think. And she's said and done a lot of crazy stuff in the past, but you know, haven't we all? Don't we all have a little Marjorie Taylor Greene in us? I mean, seriously. Ridiculous. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get rolling. I'm just going to stick my finger in my mouth one more time. Get that, and that, and that. At least I won't flip you off. I'll try not to anyway. Okay, so there's like one spot. She's on the correct side this time. Yeah. Oh, man. And I thought of this morning. I've never thought of this. Anna Bees and Fred and whoever else is listening, and thank you guys so much for being here. Can you imagine if we had little E as our president? Because it's kind of like what we have. I mean, I don't think that little T is any more qualified. And I think he's just as much guilty as this stuff. That's my opinion, and I'm allowed to have an opinion. It's really like we have Jeffrey for president. Again, in my opinion. Okay, I lied. I'm not quite done. One sec. That and that. So yeah, I think that Mar-a-Lago is probably very much the equivalent of Pedo Island. You know, you can get away with a lot more on the island because your victims are isolated, kind of out of the jurisdiction of the West Palm Beach police that you already own anyway. I mean, give me a break. Yeah, in my opinion, he is just as bad as little E. Just as bad, if not worse. I mean, as far as we know, little E didn't claim bankruptcy a whole bunch of times and like destroy Atlantic City with his bull crap. We don't know if he crashed helicopters and airplanes on purpose. We don't know if he faked assassinations or orchestrated assassinations. But I did hear yesterday that he was trying to hire snipers to possibly do that to a couple of royals right around the time he passed away. I don't know if that's true and accurate. Okay. I think I'm wanting to start reading and getting it done this time. That was hilarious last night, trying to get it done. I did get a chance to watch the part at like right before the 52-minute mark where I fell asleep for like, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 4 seconds. And you can't really tell because I'm looking down reading anyway, but it's hilarious. And maybe you can tell. I'll have to watch it again to make my final decision on that. But yeah, I'm glad that I caught myself, confessed, and then just wrapped it up and went to bed. I had a great night's sleep. How about you guys? Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All of my videos are made for the tube of you, and it's an infotainment platform. I'm hoping to learn and promote the book, buy the book, and within the parameters of education and inserting a lot of my own opinion in there, still being within the parameters of fair use. So, and I think it kind of is a individual. It depends, like if the people who have the copyright, it's up to them. Like if they contact me, and they want me to take things down or change things, I will. And I would imagine that they'd be fine with everything I'm saying and doing. But I don't know. I tried to email them. I haven't heard back. So just moving forward. So here we go. Let's read. It's 11 minutes almost. But maybe little E would not have destroyed the world. I know. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him because he destroyed so many people. But yeah, I mean, I'm worried that that the person in that position of power for our country is still at risk for blowing up the entire world before these files get out. I mean, supposedly they're doing their little vote right now. Like, we're never going to see those files. I mean, that's my opinion. It's just one trick after another. And those victims are on the steps today with their attorneys and with their supporters. And I've been watching a lot of that while getting ready. All right, so here we are, page 351, right there where we left off at the big break. I'll read the last couple of sentences to repeat and then get rolling. And, like, share, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Listening to that song, that's when I vowed to get better once and for all, for Alex, for Tyler, for Ellie, for Robbie, of course, but most of all for myself. And in April, Judge Allison Nathan had rejected G's request for a new trial, denying her claim that her jury could not have been fair or impartial because one juror failed to disclose his own experience of SA. Now that it was late June and the day had finally come for G to be sentenced, because of my health problems, my doctor said I couldn't fly to New York to deliver a victim's impact statement. Well, this is even more evidence, in my opinion, of those health problems being potentially victimization, like the poisoning and that type of thing. That even if it didn't take her out at the time, it at least was successful in preventing her from testifying again, right? Potentially. My doctor said I couldn't fly to New York to deliver a victim's impact statement, as I'd long planned to do. See? And they knew that. All of the victims that are on the courthouse steps today, or I mean the Congress steps of the Congress, they've all been threatened. And one of them that I know of, but I'm sure more, I would bet more, one of them was planning to be there, but the threats got to her, and so she bagged it. But that inspired another one who wasn't planning on being there to step forward, somebody who's never stepped forward about it. So she was on the steps. I'll try to get some links in the description to some of these things, but I'm sure you guys can find them too. But Siggy said, and Siggy was there, Siggy said she would read it for me in open court, even before she got a chance to do so. However, a copy of my statement that had been provided to the court made headlines. The former prince's Smecks accuser says G opened the door to hell for abuse. Blared UK's Daily Mirror atop a story that quoted from my statement, G, 22 years ago in the summer of 2000, you spotted me at Mar-a-Lago Hotel in Florida and you made a choice. So the things that happen on your property, you are responsible for. We all know that as homeowners. If somebody like trips and falls and breaks their leg on our property, we are responsible. So I'm sure if somebody is kidnapped from our home and sold into this hell of SMEX abuse, I'm sure that as homeowners, we would all be responsible for that. Mar-a-Lago Hotel, in my opinion, was not in the dark about this. I think that this was part of their the ring that they ran. I think Mar-a-Lago played as much of a part in it, to reiterate, as the PDF Island. All right, here we go. Keep reading. I got to get through this last chapter. Then we are complete with this book and on to the next. I mean, I don't know if I'll read any more books, but you know what I mean. On to the next thing. There's so much to talk about. There's so many good books to read too. I'll reread that sentence. G, 22 years ago in the summer of 2000, you spotted me at Mar-a-Lago Hotel in Florida, and you made a choice. You chose to follow me and procure me for E. Just hours later, you and he abused me together for the first time. Together, you damaged me physically, mentally, sexually, and emotionally. Together, you did unspeakable things that still have a corrosive impact on me to this day. I want to be clear about one thing. Without question, E was a terrible PDF file, but I never would have met E if not for you. For me and for so many others, you opened the door to hell. And then, G, like a wolf in sheep's clothing, you used your femininity to betray us and let us all through it. At G's sentencing hearing on June 28th of 2022, Annie Farmer, Sarah Ransom, and another survivor sister, Elizabeth Stein. These women are all awesome. I've seen all three of them speak multiple times. I don't know if Sarah Ransom is on the Congress steps today, but I definitely saw Annie Farmer there, and Elizabeth Stein was not only there, but she spoke. And I would imagine Sarah Ransom was there, but maybe she was one that had been threatened and changed her plan. Or maybe she wasn't planning on it. I don't know. I would like to know, though. I like following the information that all of the survivors want people to follow. I really want to learn as much about them and their experiences as possible. Not just this one. This one is kind of just a jumping off point for me. And I know a lot of them have written their own books. So I think that they all should continue to speak out as much as they feel like they need to. Those survivor sisters were in the courtroom to deliver their impact statements in person. Siggy read mine. Judge Nathan listened to everyone, including G's lawyers and prosecutors, and then told all those assembled, the damage done to these young girls was incalculable. Then she revealed that G, then 60, would be sentenced to 22 years in prison, plus 5 years of supervised release. She was also ordered to pay a $750,000 fine. With good behavior, she could leave prison in her late 70s, but we all know she's only like 63 now, and she's already been living in the most luxurious type of setting in the world, given the situation, and she does not meet the criteria to even be a candidate for that, what they call the Club Fed in Texas. And I'm glad they are so brave. I wish Virginia could be there too. Her brother, Sky D, and his wife were right there front and center, and he spoke. So I'm sure he feels her spirit, that he is her mouthpiece at the moment. So that was very, very powerful. Um the survivor sisters rejoiced. Together, we'd succeeded in sending one of our most malicious abusers, the woman who used her gender to trick so many of us into feeling safe, even as she put us in the worst sort of danger. We sent her to prison. We hadn't gotten what I'd once told Gail King I really hoped for, an apology. Judging by the jailhouse interviews with G, Judging by the jailhouse interviews G had begun giving, she was unrepentant. Nevertheless, she'd still been held accountable. Despite all her haughty denials, I like that word, haughty. It's perfect for her. She is haughty. Haughty effing see you next Tuesday. Despite all of her haughty denials, despite her attempts to diminish us as money grubbing opportunists, a judge and a juror had seen through her. For all of us, that was the best thing. We'd been believed. And to keep in mind that the person in the position of the President POTUS, President of the United States, that he still to this day wishes her well and is doing everything in his power to accommodate that wish that he shares with her, in my opinion. Unfortunately, any happiness I felt about G spending most of her remaining years in prison was dampened by the fact that right around this time, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, a chronic, long-lasting condition that causes heightened pain and tenderness throughout the body, as well as fatigue and sleep problems. This was not exactly good news. Although there was some relief in knowing I wasn't crazy, the pain was real. In October, I bought Robbie a used powerboat. He'd always loved the water, and this vessel had enough beds, couches, and benches down below that our whole family could sleep on board at the same time. Its previous owner had painted its name, the Renaissance, on the hull in dark blue script. I told Robbie he could change that, but he said no, the Renaissance was perfect. For us, he said, a revival was long overdue. I knew what he meant. He was hoping I could renew my interest in life. I wanted that too. I was taking it one day at a time. As usual, I relied on music to lift me up. Anna B says, there is something so bad that she has on little T. It's way worse than we can imagine. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's way worse than what may or may not be true, allegedly, about Bubba and him, right? It's all just a witch hunt. It's all about him. Poor guy. He's such a victim, such a macho victim. Okay. As usual, I relied on music to lift me up. Alex was playing more and more of his tunes, and I couldn't have been more proud of him. I also clung to Sarah Bareilles' song Brave, which I'd first heard right around the time I said goodbye to my father for the last time. Somehow a shadow wins, she sang, describing my lowest feelings perfectly. But then she helped me rally. Maybe there's a way out of the cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let the light shine in. Show me how big your brave is. On November 8th, 2022, I announced a settlement between me and lawyer Alan Dershowitz. Okay, this man is one of the biggest obfuscators and evildoers right now in real time. He's right up there with T. Alan Dershowitz and T are like this. They are disgusting scumbags that probably had everything to do with E getting Epsteined and with Virginia getting Epsteined, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. And I'm just going to keep reading. I announced a settlement between me and lawyer Alan Dershowitz on November of 2022, November 8th. The Harvard professor emeritus and friend of E's, who I sued for defamation in 2019. In a joint statement, I said, I have long believed that I was transported by E to Alan Dershowitz. However, I was very young at the time. Oh, that's a nice jab. I was very young at the time. Hit that one home. It was a very stressful and traumatic environment. And Mr. Dershowitz has, from the beginning, consistently denied these allegations. I now recognize that I may have made a mistake in identifying Mr. Dershowitz. Not that she did make a mistake, but that she may have. Let that sink in. Because she's pretty much said the same type of thing to recant her allegations against little T. He is so evil, and he's so butt ugly AF. All these freaks are. When I had sued Dershowitz in 2019, I'd alleged that he had made defamatory statements about me after I accused him. He had countersued 7 months later. The settlement put an end to both of those claims. No payments were made by either of us to the other. And you got to remember, this is a lawyer, so he could have like bent her over the barrel and had his way, except that he had no ground to stand on, and he knew that. So they called it a wash. He's not just a lawyer. He's considered by some to be the craftiest defense lawyer known to our legal system. 60 years, I think he's been at Harvard. Like probably 200 years, probably since the inception of their program, right? He's probably like 300 years old, like any other evil dinosaur. Like these make-believe characters that are like 200 and 300 years old. The statement put an end to both of those claims. No payments were made by either of us to the other, and we agreed that we would say nothing about one another other than the agreed statements we made in joint release. In that release, Dershowitz said of me that he had come to believe that at the time she accused me, she believed what she said. She has suffered much at the hands of E, and I commend her work combating the evil of SMEX transporting. Well, why didn't he just say that she was plain effing nuts, right? Knucking futs, because that's pretty much what he's trying to say. Well, she believed it because she was upside down from all of the abuse that she suffered by my dear friend and client. The next day, funny, not funny, the next day I got an email from Dr. Annie Farmer. Annie and her sister Maria had been fighting for justice longer than any of the survivor sisters, and I'd gotten to know them both over the years. Annie's words meant everything to me because she so clearly understood my emotional state. Hi, Virginia. I just wanted to send a note because I imagine everything transpiring over these last few days and throughout this long legal fight you've been battling has been really difficult. I just wanted to let you know that you are on my mind, and I'm sending big hugs and lots of love. You have focused for years now on helping others and being a strong voice in this fight. I know your advocacy will continue, but I also hope that you can find the space you need for rest and healing and soaking up time with your family, with some relief from all of the pressure these cases have brought with them. XOX, Annie. I had badly needed some peace. My family had too. Now, at long last, we would set about to try to find it again. And now, I think this is the very last chapter, Nobody's Girl, chapter 38. And it's page 355. And yeah, it goes to 367. So 12 more pages, or maybe like 11 to 12. I think I need to just smooth out my wax a little bit. It's kind of moved around as I've been talking. And I want to get rolling and see if we can complete this chapter, huh? Okay. My apologies for that. And I do have some ice water. And I'm also harboring a little puppy dog. Let me see if I can show you Mookie. She's right here. And she's a cutie pie little baby. My little baby with the black heart on her head. You should have seen her the day I met her when she was 5 weeks old. She was not much bigger than the portion of herself that you can see right now. And she was actually like almost black. Like her color has gotten a lot lighter over time. Oh, she's such a cutie. I met her and her brother, and um, I knew the people that adopted her brother. He was lighter and he had long legs. Like he looked more like a beagle. She looks more like a wiener dog. But they're both half Chiweenie. So I always say she's only a quarter wiener dog, but she thinks she's all wiener dog. I'll show her more in a minute. She's just chilling. She's like snuggled up between me and the arm of the chair. As I was beginning work on this book, Nobody's Girl, chapter 38, one of my sons invited a new friend over. Oh, this is a good story. You heard it before in the other manuscript, the Billionaires Playboy Club. A woman I'd never met before dropped him off, and I invited her inside. When she sat down at our kitchen island, I offered her a cold drink, which is right about the time she recognized me. OMG, she said, it's you. I smiled and nodded. This has happened to me before. The woman was uncomfortable. I could see her eyes were darting around as if she was now unsure what to say. For a moment, the fact that I was a well known survivor of SA hung awkwardly in the air between us. Then the woman kindly said, it's okay. We don't have to talk about it. It's probably embarrassing. I kept smiling, even though inside I felt an old twinge. Why should I be ashamed? I'd been a child when I was abused by adults. No, it's not embarrassing, I replied. And we should be talking about it because this is happening out there, and it's going to continue to happen unless we talk about it. Not wanting to sound as if I were lecturing her, I suggested we go out for a drink sometime out of earshot of our kids. Um, Smex transporting should not be a secret. Yeah, because it is a secret, huh? That's part of the problem. A secret hiding in plain sight. It should not be a secret, only to be whispered about in hushed tones or not at all. It is a horrible trauma inducing crime, and we must talk about it if we ever want it to end. That's part of why I wrote this book, and I've tried on every page to be transparent. I've made mistakes in my life, and I've had moments I'm not proud of, but I haven't let those human flaws keep me from telling my story. As a collaborator, as my collaborator and I worked together to finish this book, she sent me a line by the writer Helen Rossner that rings true to me. Memoir is the art of shining a light behind you, picking at the stitches of your life to see how it was made. That's what I've tried to do, to examine my life in the hope of destigmatizing victims' experiences. Destigmatizing is absolutely key. That is the word of the day, the word of the year, the word of the century. Because not only by speaking out can we move ourselves and others to act, because it's only by speaking out can we move ourselves and others to act. Well, and like the destigmatization of domestic violence with Gabby Petito and with Lacey Peterson. Domestic violence took Phil Hartman, the comedian Phil Hartman. He was one of my favorite comedians, and his wife put a slug in him before she then took her own life with both of her kids asleep in their beds in the same location. Domestic violence needs to be destigmatized. It's all connected. I'm sorry to say that for all that's happened, more action is needed, much more, because some people still think he was an anomaly, an outlier, and those people are wrong. Think about Lost Trail Lodge and what I believe about the Lost Trail Lodge in Truckee, California, and Kylie Rodney. As it will, in like Nevada, Reno, and Vegas, and Amsterdam, and it goes on and on. Those people are wrong. While the sheer number of victims he preyed upon may put him in a class by himself, no, I would say there's others like him. He was no outlier. The way he viewed women and girls as playthings to be used and discarded is not uncommon among certain powerful men who believe that they are above the law. So right now, I said a few minutes ago that Dershowitz and Little T are fighting like rat bastards backed into a corner trying to protect themselves, so they will lash out at anybody and do anything. They're in a very dangerous predicament right now. They're also protecting Les Wex, who so far has skated free and clear of all this noise for the most part. Very few people even know his name. He's still alive. He's in Ohio. He's in New Albany on the eastern side of Columbus. I think he's probably 87 years old at this point. He lives with his wife. He has kids. He probably has grandkids. And he is probably shaking in his boots in his underground lairs next to the torture dungeons with victims, for all I know, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. There's probably a whole underground system beneath New Albany, like there is in so many of these places. We know for a fact in Manhattan and probably in New Mexico, more than likely PDF Island. I'm just going to keep reading. And if not a physical underground tunnel system with dungeons, then psychological underground tunnel systems with dungeons. So it's kind of immaterial whether it's actually physically there or not. We know that it is there. Exactly. I cannot stand that some people are gaslighting us again. Oh, nonstop. Nonstop. Oh, and Jim Jones. This is what made me think of it, Anna Bees, right before I came on. Jim Jones, who's a congressman, was standing up on the stairs of the Congress talking about a bunch of bull crap. But Jim Jones came from OSU, where he was protecting a bunch of perpetrators there, and probably is one of the perpetrators there. He was protecting the perpetrators in their wrestling department and their athletic department for 20 years. And he's directly tied to Les Wex, and he's directly tied to our whole government, Jim Jones. And isn't that the same? What about no, is it Jim Johnson? Let me see, because Jim Jones is like the Kool-Aid guy. One sec. Let me look that up. Ohio State University and Congressperson Jones. No, there's several individuals. Let's see. Let me see again. Who is the congressman that protected the sex predators at OSU for 20 years? Johnson? Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan. That's funny that I was crossing my wires. So that's Republican Jim Jordan faces deposition about OSU essay scandal. And that article is NBC, as recent as this past July 2025. He was named in the new OSU essay lawsuit. I'll read the AI overview real quick. The congressman referenced in allegations of a cover-up of essay at Ohio State University as Republican or Representative Jim Jordan. During his time as an assistant wrestling coach at OSU from 86 to 94, the team physician, Dr. Richard Strauss, essayed at least 177 male athletes and students over a period of 2 decades from 78 to 98. And he is a dirty MF, Jim Jordan. But yeah, that's funny because funny, not funny with the whole Jim Jones thing with the mass self-unaliving that took place in Jonestown, Africa, back in the 70s. Let me look that up real quick too, just so I'm uncrossing my wires as much as possible. Jonestown Kool-Aid incident. Yeah, that's People's Temple leader is Jim Jones, and he ordered the act of revolutionary self-unaliving in response to the red rum of U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan and his delegation, who were investigating abuses at the commune. You guys, if you don't know that story of the Jonestown Kool-Aid, 1978, it's one of the most horrible stories, I think, in our culture's history. And I think that they were a cult from California who then moved to Africa. And how many people died in that? I want to say it was like 170. Let's see. How many people died in the Jonestown Kool-Aid incident? Did I just read it? Was it 177? No. Where did I get 177 from? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? It was 909 people that died in the Jonestown commune on November 18th, 1979, as part of a mass red rum self-unaliving orchestrated by the People's Temple leader, Jim Jones. And I honestly believe that all of the MAGA followers that are still hangers on would drink the Kool-Aid and go down with their dear leader right now, today, in this moment. And probably it's like 100 times more than the 909 people that passed away on those days, on that day. That was a lot of kids too. How many kids? Let me see real quick, and then I'll get back to reading. How many of the Jonestown murder-suicide victims were kids? It was a lot. Trigger warning. 1/3. I think it says 1/3. Let me see. Of the nearly 1,000 church members who began the day in Jonestown, only 33 survived to see the next day. Wow, I did not know that part. Um, 1/3 of the victims were children. I could just cry. Many were taken by Jones's aides who squirted cyanide down their throats. The following is a thumbnail history of the Jonestown tragedy. What happened? What led up to this? Who is Jim Jones? Where did the money come from? Follow the money. I got to read that part to you. Jones was a phony faith healer. Much of his money came in mail order donations from the desperate. Elderly members handed over their Social Security checks. Working adults gave 25% of their wages to the church, and some signed over all their property. Government investigators would later find at least $10 million in Swiss banks, mainly in Panama. Oh, who wanted to take over Panama and make it one of our states at the beginning of his second term of presidency earlier this year? Huh. Another 1 million in cash was recovered. Did anyone survive? What happened to the unalivers? How did Jones pass away? He did not drink the cyanide. He was shot in the head, probably by a trusted aide at the very end. His body was among the first to be identified through fingerprints that had been taken after a Vice Squad arrest 5 years earlier in the men's room of a Los Angeles movie theater. What is left of Jonestown today? Okay. Sorry about that interlude. I'm going to keep reading. But I think about Jonestown a lot in regards to the Die Hard MAGAs. So Jim Jordan and Jim Jones. That's what got me down that little rabbit hole. I think I already read that one, but I'll go ahead and reread it. Exactly. I can't stand that some people are gaslighting us again, trying to call these victims ladies of the night, right? Kids of the night, and saying that they were adults and knew what they were doing. According to Megan R. Kelly, yeah. Even if they were adults, which they weren't, right? Some of them were like 22. I think Sarah Ransom was 22, and at least one or two others that I know of were 22. And Jess, I forget Jess's last name. I think she was 21. She's very outspoken too. She's very articulate. She was one of the people front and center on the steps of the Capitol today, of Congress. I mean, let's see. Rex transporting is illegal, and holding people in your home or wherever is kidnapping. Absolutely. Thank you, my dear. That is well stated. Wow. And Jim Jordan didn't know that was happening. Oh no, he knew. Oh, I know the story. I watched the documentary. Yeah, there's been so many documentaries about Jonestown. It's something I think that's important to be educated about, because it could be happening again at any point in time. And in my opinion, it is happening again with the MAGA diehards, metaphorically, maybe not literally, but the same type of thing. It had real footage, including the actual act. I know. I saw one of those too, Annabees. It's just chilling. I forgot it was 909 people and that only 33 survived. But they were, I think all of them were Americans, and the whole country was in shock, in PTSD. And then family members that were trying to get their family members' remains back to the States had to pay thousands of dollars. And trigger warning, the bodies were like lined up on the tarmac at the airport in Africa, and then the airports here in our country, I think, unrefrigerated, decomposing, trigger warning, and family members had to come up with thousands of dollars in order to gain custody of their loved ones' remains. It was vile. Like, that should have all been covered on government funding, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. Like, F that, man. Just to make it that much worse. Like, just when you think it can't get any worse, it's how it always goes. I'm sorry to say, and I wish it wasn't true. And they red-roamed some senators and Secret Service. Yes, it was all very scandalous and all very, like, government crap. I don't know if the documentary is still out there because I watched it in, like, 1979. Oh, yeah. I'll see if I can find a link to a good one to put in the description. I watched one just in the last year or two on Roku, Netflix or Hulu or something like that. We take one more drink, and then we're down to the last 10 pages, my dears. We can do this. Let's see if we can do it in under an hour, because I think I do about 10 pages an hour. But yeah, I need to keep inserting my ideas so that this is within the parameters of education and fair use. So it's kind of perfect like that, but I also don't want to make it longer than it needs to be. Where am I here? I think this might have been the last sentence that I read. Memoir is the art of shining a light behind you, picking at the stitches of your life to see how it was made. That's what I tried to do. Examine my life in the hope of destigmatizing victims' experiences, because only by speaking out can we move ourselves and others to act. 1 second. Let me text my kid. One second. All righty. One of my family members just poked his head in the door, so I just needed to text him real quick. And I'll see if he texts back, if I need to interrupt or not. Try to get this done here. Okay. Alrighty. Everything's good. That's what I've tried to do, to examine my life in the hopes of destigmatizing victims' experiences, because only by speaking out can we move ourselves and others to act. I'm sorry to say that for all that's happened, more action is needed, much more, because some people still think E was an anomaly, an outlier, and those people are wrong. While the sheer number of victims E preyed upon may put him in a class. Oh, I read all this. I'm sorry. I'm rereading it. That's okay sometimes, though. May put him in a class by himself. He was no outlier. The way he viewed women and girls and playthings to be used and discarded is not uncommon among certain powerful men who believe they are above the law. And I'd say it's just not uncommon, period. Unfortunately, it's the norm in many settings, and especially outside of American culture, but even in our culture. And many of those men are still going about their daily lives, enjoying the benefits of their power. Don't be fooled by those in E's circle who say they didn't know what E was doing. Anyone who spent any significant amount of time with E saw him touching girls in ways you wouldn't want a creepy old man touching your daughter. And remember, these creepy old men only get creepier as they get older, and gain more power, like when they're 79 years old and a world leader. Okay. They can say they didn't know that he was raping children, but they were not blind, not to mention the fact that many prominent people were still associating with him years after his conviction. He offered many of the men in his circle schmecks with females he and G transported, both girls and women. I know because I lived it. But even the men who didn't partake in the favors he offered could see the naked photos on his walls and the naked girls on his islands or by his swimming pools. He not only didn't hide what was happening, he took a certain glee in making people watch because he could. And people did watch. Scientists, fundraisers from Ivy League and other heralded institutions, titans of industry, they watched and they didn't care. He is deceased, but the attitude that allowed him to do what he did, it's alive and well. Yes, Me Too has led to certain prominent men losing their jobs. Come here, baby. Come here, little girl. Do you want to cuddle? Come here. Come on. Dear. Now we got two little baby girls. Ah. We got the little short hair down here by my booty, and then we got this one on my lap. That's so cute. Alrighty. So cute. I'm so lucky to have such adorable puppy dogs. They are a lot of work, though. They are a handful. I like to try to remind myself that I'm lucky to have the problems that I do. Like too much dog hair in the house. Where was I? Titans of industry, they watched and they didn't care. Oh, well, they did more than watch and they did more than care, in my opinion. Some. He is deceased, but the attitude that allowed him to do what he did, it's alive and well. Yes, Me Too has led to certain prominent men losing their jobs. Other men have gone to prison, and still, this is my addition, others have risen in positions of prominence and used their knowledge as emotional blackmailing leverage to win by hook or crook, lying and cheating and stealing elections and such, in my opinion. But just because justice has been served to a handful of high-profile cases doesn't mean we've solved the larger problem. A culture that tells girls their primary worth is to appeal to men. A culture that tells men that young girls are the ideal, the younger, as he said, the better. I'm not saying those cultural trends cause most men to become child molesters. Say it loud, Anna B says. Okay. Say it loud, Anna B says, and then the phone got loud. That was just a chiropractor's office calling me, so I sent them to voicemail. Let's see, where was I? But I do believe that because of those societal forces, when a molester shows his face, many people tend to look the other way. Even as I've chronicled my history with E and G, much has happened to keep the two of them in the news. The sale of E's properties, for example, his Palm Beach home was sold to a developer for $18.5 million. It has been torn down and is being redeveloped with a different address in the future. There will be no 358 on Albrilla Way. E's Manhattan townhouse sold for $51 million. His two islands in the Caribbean sold for $60 million, roughly half what they were listed for a year earlier, to a developer who plans to build a 25-room resort there. You can't escape the history and the ghosts and the demons. And my guess is that they have no desire to escape, but that they're leaning into it. That's my suspicion. Otherwise, you could set it up as like a rehabilitation facility for victims. But we all know that those rehabilitation facilities for victims often are hiding in plain sight and doing the victimization, right? Let me see. I maybe should take a quick bathroom break, actually, you guys. I'm on page 357. Yeah, let me do that super fast because it's just been about an hour and it should be the only bathroom break that I need, but I think I need to let the doggy outside. So one sec. Come here, baby. Come here, Mookie. Come on, baby. Oh, hey.
We're waiting to get Kate from school. 3:30 because there's a game tonight. I don't know. I think it's high school. Oh, goodness.
All right. All righty, people. Thank you for your patience. Let me straighten some things out. Puppies are outside. So no accidents in the house, please. Those are the worst. The worst. Alrighty. One little sip of water and then onward and upward. Let's see if I can find my place. Yeah, about everything getting sold for millions and millions of dollars, and the developer planning to build a 25-room resort. His New Mexico ranch listed for $27.5 million in July of 21, sold to an anonymous buyer for an undisclosed sum in August of 2023. Oh, I wonder if it was his good old friend Donnie and sold it for like $1. Who knows? Probably some mobster type. And most recently, his parish apartment sold to a Bulgarian investor for £8.2 million. The money raised in these transactions has gone to E's estate, which has helped fund restitution for victims. Well, that's a good thing, huh? As expected, G, who resides in an all-female, low-security facility in Tallahassee, has appealed her convictions. In August of 2024, that appeal was denied. She also gave an interview from prison in which she repeated the lie that the photo E took of Prince, the former Prince, with his arm around me is fake. In response, Michael Thomas, the New Zealand photographer who visited me in Australia back in 2011 and took a photo of my original photo, front and back, came forward to say definitively it's not fake and it never has been. Not all men are monsters. In the wake of my settlement with Alan Dershowitz, who in my opinion is one of the biggest monsters, various media outlets have suggested that the former prince might try to overturn his and my settlement agreement. The Sun in London reported, for example, that the disgraced royal was consulting with U.S. lawyers and hoping to force a retraction or even an apology. David Boies fired back in a wide-ranging interview with the Daily Mail. If they want to get out of the settlement, he said, all they have to do is call me and let me take the former prince's deposition and go to trial. To date, Boies has received no such call. The former prince, meanwhile, was allowed to attend King Charles III's coronation in May of 23, but with no formal row and a third row seat. In Trafalgar Square, I don't know that word, I'm not familiar. It's probably over there in the UK, right? In the context of this, in Trafalgar Square, hundreds, if you want to help me out, Annabise, if you want to, no big deal if you don't. Hundreds of anti-monarchy protesters stood among a throng of, I was thinking thong, stood among a throng of royal supporters waiting for the coronation process to pass. And I enjoyed looking at photos of the placards that they held online. Many people held signs that read, "Not my king," and one protester lifted a huge hand-lettered banner that simply said, "God save Virginia Giuffre." Various E-related lawsuits have continued to make their way through the courts. In March of 2023, a judge ruled that two banks who had E as a customer for several years, Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan Chase, had to face lawsuits alleging that the banks profited from E's SMEX transporting operation. Both banks soon reached tentative settlements promising approximately $75 million and $290 million, respectively, to the plaintiffs. More than 40 women who said the banks had facilitated E's abuse of them. I was among the plaintiffs in the JP Morgan class action. JP Morgan also eventually settled a lawsuit filed by the U.S. Virgin Islands, agreeing to significant commitments to curtail human transporting and a $75 million payout. That suit alleges that Jess Stolley, a former top executive at the bank, may have been involved in E's SMEX transporting operation. Court papers in that case showed that E shared photographs of young women with Stolley and that the two men emailed each other using what appeared to be code words based on Disney characters. Oh, you guys have heard about this, right? That was fun. Say hi to Snow White. Stolly, then 53, emailed E in July of 2010. What character would you like next? E, then 57, replied. Beauty and the Beast, Stolly responded, to which E replied, well, one side is available. It's not hard to imagine what E meant. He had beauties at the ready. Let me take a quick drink and read your comment here. The Trafalgar. Thank you. I don't know how to say it either. Oh, there you go. Fred showed us. Oh, thank you, Fred. I was thinking that was Anna B's. Good job. And nice to see that you're still here. Awesome. Thanks, you guys, for supporting my Herculean effort to read this nearly 400-page book out loud for you. And I'm so close to being done. We have like less than 8 pages left. We are on a roll. Last paragraph of page 359 of 367 pages. The other day, Ellie and I were in the car heading to her volleyball practice when she took control of the stereo and queued up a song called Mad at Disney, performed by Salem Heese. It's Salem Ilese. Salem Elise, I'm not sure. You have to listen to this, Mom, she said, pushing play. I'm mad at Disney. Disney, they tricked me. Had me wishing on a shooting star, Ellie sang at top volume over the music. She knew all the words. My fairy grandma warned me Cinderella's story only ended in a bad divorce, she sang. The prince ain't sleeping when he takes his sleeping beauty to the motel on his Snow White horse. Ellie shot me a glance. At 13, she knew more than she lets on. As I've said, I'd watched Cinderella on repeat when I was a child, and I internalized some of the messages it taught me about femininity and what happiness looks like for a girl. As a young mother, I went into a baby boutique before Ellie's birth and said I wanted everything princess. But now, as the mother of teenagers, I appreciate that my daughter is more skeptical than I was about some of the pressures and stereotypes society puts on girls of all ages. Pressure to be a good girl is everywhere. And the last thing I wanted to do in this book is to place more of that pressure on anyone, particularly on survivors of abuse. I've written a lot about bravery because I admire people who do what is right, even when that comes at a cost. But I want to be clear, while we need to be brave about naming our abusers, we must also protect ourselves. This is key, you guys. Like Ara was saying when she dropped into the chat the other night, you got to read between the lines. The book is not the Holy Grail. It's sort of the rough draft of the Holy Grail, maybe. It's like the template of the Holy Grail, maybe. I mean, you totally have to read between the lines with all of it. Here we go. You may notice that while I've named some men in this book, I have not named all the men I was transported to. Partly because I still don't know some of their names. Partly too, that is because there are certain men who I fear naming. Some of which I think she did name, and then she said that she may have been confused, blah, 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 blah. That man who brutally raped me toward the end of my time with E&G, for example, the man whom I called the former prime minister in court documents, I know his name and he knows what he did to me. And even though when others have sought comment from him about my allegations, he has denied them. I fear that this man will seek to hurt me if I say his name here. There are other men whom I was trafficked to, transported to who have threatened me in another way by asserting that they will use litigation to bankrupt me, which is exactly Dershowitz and T. That's exactly what they do. That's their MO. One of these men has come up repeatedly in various court filings, and in response, he has told my lawyers that if I talk about him publicly, he will employ his vast resources to keep me in court for the rest of my life. Who does that? Who does that? I think we all know somebody who does that. He's a public servant for all of us, but he thinks he's the king, and he is not the king. And he gets really upset when people do their little no kings rallies. Let me adjust that so that it's not cutting off the top of me brain. And let me adjust it so it's not showing my shelves of linens over there. And I'm also going to get a Tic Tac while I'm at it. Exactly, Annabes. The sort of whitewashed translation of the Holy Grail. I was so disgusted when Dershowitz tried to sell G to the public as the Rosetta Stone of the e-files. She's like the Rosetta Stone of the alternative facts e-files, right? Who was that? That was Kelly Lee Conway who used that alternative facts thing. And her ex-husband, George Conley, says some of the most brilliant things. We all remember Kellyanne Conway, right? And remember that she had a husband of over 20 years. They had 4 kids together, and he's an attorney, and they were like polar opposites. And their marriage did not survive the Donald. And they both are still heavily embedded in their opposite camps. And George Conway is one of the most amazing speakers I've ever heard. I love him. He's a sweetheart. He's an absolute sweetheart. If you don't know who George Conway is, I'd say Google him and listen to what he has to say. He's a brilliant, brilliant man. He's an attorney. And let me Google him real quick because I'm curious if he's like I want to say he might be a professor at Harvard or something, actually, just like Dershowitz. Is George Conway a professor? He's an American lawyer and activist. I think he graduated from Harvard. He's not a professor. He's known for his work in corporate law and is a conservative legal commenter. He's a partner at a law firm and co-founder of the Lincoln Project. The Lincoln Project has a very cool YouTube channel. He is the president of the Society for the Rule of Law. He's partner at the law firm Watchell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz. President of the Society for Rule of Law, co-founder of the Lincoln Project, graduate from Harvard and Yale. Yeah, he's a really smart man. And very humble, too. Conway is a frequent political commentator and contributing writer for The Atlantic. He's great. Okay, here we go. And Oh man, wait till you get to this part. I'm glad I didn't skip anything because I'm trying to find my spot. I think that I'm going to reread the end of this paragraph. I have not named all of the men that I was transported to. Partly that is because I still don't know some of their names. Partly, too, that is because there are certain men who I fear naming. The man who brutally raped me toward the end of my time with E and G, for example, the man whom I've called the former prime minister in the court documents, I know his name and he knows what he did to me, even though when others have sought comment from him about my allegations, he has denied them. I fear that this man will seek to hurt me if I say his name here. And he too could be on that short list of people who had Virginia Epstein, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. Right there with the Royals, and right there with G, right there with T, right there with Alan Dershowitz, William Barr, Steve Bannon. I'd say those are all of my top candidates. Again, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. There are other men whom I was transported to who have threatened me in another way by asserting that they will use litigation to bankrupt me. One of those men's names has come up repeatedly in various court filings, and in response, he has told my lawyers that if I talk about him publicly, he will employ his vast resources to keep me in court for the rest of my life. While I have named him in sworn depositions and identified him to the FBI, I fear that if I do so again here, my family will bear the emotional and financial brunt of that decision. Not to mention violence, emotional and financial brunt of that decision. I have the same fears about another man whom I was forced to have sex with many times, a man whom I also saw having sexual contact with Epstein himself. Let me read that again. I have the same fears about another man whom I was forced to have sex with many times, a man who I saw having sexual contact with E himself. I would love to identify him here, but this man is very wealthy and very powerful, and I fear that he too might engage me in expensive, life ruining litigation. How about life threatening behavior? Um, Sorry for bumping that with my knee. I do not make this decision to hold back lightly. Part of me wants to shout from the highest rooftop the names of every single man who ever used me for schmecks. Some readers will question my reluctance to name many of my abusers. If I am indeed a fighter for justice, why have I not called them out? My answer is simple. Because while I have been a daughter, a prisoner, a survivor, and a warrior, my most important role is that of a mother. First and foremost, I am a parent and I won't put my family at risk if I can help it. Maybe in the future I will be ready to talk about these men, but not now. In the meantime, there is important work to do. We need to make it easier to punish those who victimize others. Siggy and I want to eliminate laws that limit the period in which survivors can seek justice for their abusers. As I've said, New York State has made a lot of progress. First, by opening up a look back window for child victims of SA. And then in November of 2022, so that would have been 4 months after Ivana fell down a flight of stairs to her demise, and 4 months since Pete Kegsbreath married his El Disgusto boss wife. She was his wife when she had his baby, and they were both still married to their former spouses with 3 kids each. I wonder if they let their spouses think that that baby was her husband's baby. I bet they did. I bet you they did. The sort of whitewashing translation of the Holy Grail. Exactly. I know that's from a few minutes ago, but good to reread it anyway. Um, Opening up a look back window for child victims of SA. And then in November of 2022, by passing the Adult Survivors Act, a year-long window in which people were SA'd as adults can file civil suits against their alleged abusers, no matter how long ago the assaults occurred. After the Child Victims Act opened its window, more than 10,000 lawsuits were filed, mine among them. That is profound. Other states have made changes as well. In 2020, my childhood home of Florida passed new legislation titled Donna's Law, named after Orlando resident Donna Hedrick, who was essayed by a former high school teacher in the early 70s. This law removed the statute of limitations for prosecuting acts of sexual battery committed against children younger than 18 years of age. I want to say, with all this Meghan R. Kelly hair splitting bullcrap about children and teenagers and what defines what, I want to say that as a 58-year-old mother of four, we're all still kids. We're kids our whole lives, but we're especially still kids in our 20s. So even when you hit 18 and you're legally an adult, you're still in the mindset of a kid. Are you not? Seriously, give me a break. So I like that she said here, children younger than the age of 18 years of age, because yeah, if you're 19, you're still a child in my eyes. I mean, technically, legally, you're an adult, but same thing with 21. You have all the rights of a full grown ass adult at 21, but you're still just a baby. I think we're all babies until we're about 30. I really think that 30 is when you start to grow up. I mean, we know that your brain for males and females is not fully developed until 25. That's scientifically proven. And then emotionally, I'd say by the time we're 30, a lot of us have started to grow up. And then some of us in our late 50s still don't necessarily feel like grown-ups, even when we've done a lot of adulting our whole lives. And I'd say some of that is healthy and good, and some of that is like problematic, depending on the situation and how you look at it. But when you've been abused, especially, you have that arrested development at the age that you were abused at. And then when your kids turn that age, it can be very triggering, to say the least. However, the law only applied to crimes committed on or after July 1st of 2020. There was no look back window. Federally, meanwhile, numerous updates have been made to the Transporting Victims Protection Act, the TVPA of 2000. In 2022, President Joe Biden signed the Eliminating Limits to Justice for Child SA Victims Act, which struck from the books the statute of limitations for TVPA claims brought by minor victims of SA, human transporting, forced labor, and child PORN. After Biden did so, more states eliminated statute of limitations, and lawmakers in other states, such as California, proposed bills that would do the same. Currently in California, if a person is SA'd before the age of 18, they must file a claim before turning 40. And the average age that a lot of people come to terms with their abuse is, I think, around 40 or 50. with child abuse, especially SA. Awareness is growing about the need for change, and now that my settlement from the former prince has come through, I have begun the slow process of turning my fledgling foundation SOAR into a professionally run organization. My goal is for SOAR to combat human transporting by supporting organizations that focus on prosecution, protection, and prevention. Eventually, I plan to make grants that make it easier for members of the public to detect transporting when they see it and that support victims' recovery. I look forward to disseminating some of the Crown's money to do some good. Yeah. Um, we still need our moms no matter what age you are. Exactly. I know. I mean, my mother was 79 when she passed away, and she still needed her mommy who had passed away 15 years earlier. Anna B says some of us are at 61 and still haven't dealt with all of your trauma. Exactly. And sometimes any trauma can trigger every trauma. So no matter how much you've dealt with it, it can still get kicked back up and throw you a curveball, unfortunately. Or fortunately, because then you get to a new level of healing, right? Okay, so I look forward to disseminating some of the Crown's money to do some good. But frankly, I need a rest. While finishing this book, I had many setbacks. I've had many setbacks. I've had a second surgery on my broken neck, but it still causes me immense pain. Doctors believe I may need a third. So give me a break. When she got in that car accident, allegedly with the school bus a month before she passed away, with her fibromyalgia, with her history of neck surgery, of course she would have gone to the hospital to get checked out right away. That whole story is just crap. I don't believe any of it. It's all just smoke and mirrors, in my opinion, to obfuscate what happened to her and what was happening to her. She'd been getting threatened her whole life, even before the abuse stopped. I mean, literally her whole life, from the minute the abuse started when she was 7, she was threatened her entire life. And the threats may not have been like verbalized and activated each and every day, but in her mind, they were verbalized and activated each and every day, which is the bottom line, in my opinion. Frankly, I need a rest. While finishing this book, I've had many setbacks. I'm going to reread a couple of sentences. I've had a second surgery on my broken neck, but it still causes me immense pain. Doctors believe I may need a third, and my mental health has faltered at times too, as it may continue to falter for the rest of my life. Lately, my doctors have prescribed me a series of ketamine treatments that seem to be helping me to untangle my PTSD. Still, though, I'm learning to accept that sometimes I will simply not be okay. That is the price of serious trauma. It lays you low and sometimes makes you your own worst enemy. My goal now is to prevent the emotional time bomb that lives inside of me, my toxic memories and devastated visualizations of myself being hurt, from ever detonating again. But sometimes I have trouble holding on to that goal. Let me grab my where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, it's right over here. One of these like little desk pillow things. I should have been using it more, but it's gonna like push things around too. Let's see. Where was I? At the top of 363, we only have 3.5 more pages. Actually, 4.5 more pages. There have been silver linings to my recent struggles. My mother and I have been talking more frequently on FaceTime. For the first time, she's told me she was sorry for what my father did to me when I was a child. I should have been there for you, she told me through tears. To finally hear and see her acknowledge my experience had more power than I'd ever realized it would. But nevertheless, I have found myself yearning for a lasting peace. Recently, the second of the 2 televised dramas I told you were in the works about the former prince's interview with the BBC, Emily Matlis, aired on Amazon Prime Video. The 3-part miniseries, A Very Royal Scandal, which is based on a book by Matlis, focuses mostly on the planning, execution, and aftermath of that BBC interview. And I learned a few things while watching it, though I'll admit I grimaced when the miniseries producers chose to use the actual footage of me talking and to end the show with a close-up of my actual 17-year-old face. But there's a particular scene in the show's final episode that really affected me. I don't know that I've watched this, but even if I have, I should rewatch it. In the wake of her sit down with the prince, Matlis has been heralded around the world for her brilliant interview. But now she is sitting with her laptop in the darkened kitchen, playing back audio of herself being interviewed. The topic: a stalker whose relentless fixation with Matlis upended her life before he received an 8-year prison sentence. When Matlis's husband re-enters the kitchen and hears what she's listening to, he asks her why. Because, she tells him, I wanted to remember how it felt to be interviewed about something that wasn't my fault. Yet they still had to be witnesses. They still had to, parade their pain in the hope of even the slightest justice. I'm not saying that what happened to me was even, remotely similar. Of course it wasn't. But yeah, it's like comparing apples and oranges. You can't compare traumas. You really can't. Of course it wasn't. But just like the parading, that endless bloody talking about it to get anyone to take it seriously. Remember that? Her husband nods. He does remember. And that's true of every woman who ever complained about any kind of harassment. Yeah, it immediately gets turned on you. It's a bunch of bull. Yep. Yeah, and we all know that. We all know that that's what's going to happen. So you got to choose if you want to die on that hill or not, right? Matlis, played by the actress Ruth Wilson, continues always uphill, always against the tide, always a battle against the unspoken. The look in their eyes, she says, really? Did he really? When I sat down with Prince Andrew, I was only ever hoping to ask the right questions. I didn't know how he'd be or what he'd say, but it was the arrogance, the entitlement. He just couldn't help himself. The way that certain men, whatever their sickness, assume certain rights without ever giving it a second thought. Their want, their need, their impulse. Oh, sounds like somebody that I know that's in his second term. Their want, their need, their impulse. Did you catch when he was on Air Force One a couple of days ago and he called that reporter a piggy? That was insane. It took all of us a minute to realize that that's what he said, because he kind of whispered it, piggy, because she asked him a question he didn't like. And then he told her she was stupid. Piggy. I was effing crazy. Like, what a crazy old man he is. What an absolute crazy old man. It really does get turned on you every single time. Well, what were you wearing, Annabise? And you know you wanted it. You just wanted the attention. You just want the attention now. Sorry if I'm triggering you. But yeah, we've all been there, right? We've all had that. To which I say exactly, for 14 years since 2011, I've repeatedly revealed to the world what was done to me in the hope of preventing others suffering. Like Matlis says, parading my pain, the endless bloody talking about it. I don't regret it, but the constant telling and retelling has been extremely painful and exhausting. With this book, I seek to free myself from my past. From now on, anyone who wants to know about what happened can sit down with Nobody's Girl and start reading. Today, I'm turning my sights to the future. I like to think about a time when all of my survivor sisters and I might gather together again. Right before the pandemic hit, I'd rented a house for all of us in Aspen. I was thinking it was going to say Australia. I'd rented a house for all of us in Aspen that told that and told let me reread that. See, Aspen is like in two words, so it's AS-PEN on the next line. So I thought I was losing my place because I was expecting it to say Australia, but or Austria, because Australia has a US anyway. It's not like I can spell. Right before the pandemic hit, I'd rented a house for all of us in Aspen and told those of us who couldn't afford the airfare that I would buy their tickets if they wanted to come for the weekend. COVID-19 forced us to cancel that plan, but I still think about reviving it. The goal isn't to reopen old wounds. We've all done enough of that. I just want to spend a few carefree days with these women who understand me in ways that no one else can. That is so sweet. And I hope that the survivors are still doing that kind of thing. And also the power of being united rather than divided, right? And that power is probably what scares the perps more than anything, is their victims aligning with each other and uniting and joining forces together. Right, it is exactly like that. Yeah. Oh, you didn't see that, Annabise? I think it's the last time that he was interviewed on Air Force One. I think it was the day before yesterday. I'll try to put a link to it in the description. I think the reporter is a female, and she asks him about the e-files, and he's like, "Piggy, don't be so stupid." And then he says a bunch of other stupid shit. I'll have to look it up. Let me see if I can find it real quick, actually, before we finish the last couple of pages. Because I mean, it's kind of funny, like funny, not funny. Trump calls reporter Piggy. Trump faces criticism for referring to the female Bloomberg reporter as Piggy. Quiet Piggy. That's what he said. Oh my goodness. And he's doing this. You're not going to believe this. So this is Trump right here, and he's pointing at her. She's next to a black man, and he says, "Quiet Piggy." Oh, I'm so glad I looked this up. Watch Trump scold reporter over the Epstein video. Trump, who has a history of making extremely personal attacks on female journalists and black journalists, the fact that she was standing next to a black man, I'm sure, just like greased the wheels, referred to a Bloomberg news correspondent as Piggy during a clash on board Air Force One on Friday. So today's Monday. Monday the 15th. No, Monday the 18th. Sorry, my glasses. Me glasses, me brain, you know. So was that the 15th then? Friday would have been the 15th, I think. Um, while the remark did not intentionally get much attention, it picked up some traction on Tuesday and has drawn backlash from fellow journalists. Oh, today's Tuesday. Sorry, I was thinking it was Monday. What day is it? Oh, man. I can't keep track. All right. You know, my whole family is on a weird schedule with, I don't need excuses anyway. While the remark did not intentionally get much attention, it picked up some traction on Tuesday. That's today, the 18th. Okay. And has drawn backlash from fellow journalists, including some who have been previously attacked by Trump themselves. Catherine Lucy, Bloomberg's White House correspondent, had taken advantage of a press opportunity when the president, known as a gaggle, took a question about the unfolding Jeffrey Epstein scandal and the possibility of the House voting to release all of the files to his case, which now appears likely. As Lucy started to ask why Trump was behaving the way he was, if there's nothing incriminating in the files, Trump pointed at her and said, "Quiet, piggy. Quiet, quiet, piggy." And then he told her she was a horrible reporter. Let's see if it gets to that part. I don't think it does. But then he said, like, "You're a very bad reporter." CBS News reporter Jennifer Jacobs first reported that Trump called a Bloomberg News reporter piggy, though she did not specify who it was. Disgusting and completely unacceptable, CNN anchor Jake Tapper. Well, Jake Tapper's kind of disgusting and unacceptable himself. He can't have it both ways. He's a freaking pig, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. CNN anchor Jake Tapper wrote on X, sharing a clip of the incident. Former Fox News anchor Gretchen Carlson, she's the one who did the big case against Roger Ailes with the Me Too movement. Gretchen Carlson also called the remark disgusting and degrading. When asked about the incident, it's so weird, like the pig calling somebody piggy. Like, who's a pig? What a weird thing. Like, it's like he's trying to like get under the skin of a female by implying that she's fat, right? That's his thing. And who's fat? Who's a big fat head? When asked about the incident, Lucy directed the Guardian to a spokesperson for her news organization. Our White House journalists perform a vital public service, asking questions without fear or favor, a Bloomberg News spokesperson said on Tuesday afternoon. So just in the real recent moments or hours, because it's just like 3:35 on the East Coast time. So this was just said. We remain focused on reporting issues of public interest fairly and accurately. And yeah, this article was posted right before 1:00. I think I missed. Okay, no, I didn't. I'm right here. The White House Correspondents Association, which has released statements in the past defending journalists who faced attack from Trump, did not respond to requests for comment. The insult is a familiar one for Trump. Elisa Machado, who won the Miss Universe pageant in '96, has said that Trump once called her Miss Piggy and told her to lose weight. Trump owned the pageant at the time. Yeah, he totally attacked her. I think because he wanted Melania to have participated or won or something. I'm not sure, but that was '96 that she won, like Miss America, Miss Universe. She won Miss Universe in '96. April Ryan, a longtime White House correspondent, was referred to Miss Piggy by Trump. administration official Lynn Patton in 2018, though Patton apologized for the remark. Trump himself called Ryan a loser who doesn't know what the hell she's doing that same year. Who's a loser who doesn't know what the F he's doing? Every accusation is a confession, right? In an interview with The Guardian, Ryan said that Trump's attack on the Bloomberg reporter was beneath the dignity of the presidency. You think? I'm pretty sure he's like a 12-year-old. No offense to 12-year-olds. The president of the United States is supposed to be a moral leader, the leader of the country. He's acting like some thug on the street, she said. It's one thing for his minions to say that, but for him to call a woman that also shows how upset he is about the Epstein files. It lets us know that there's probably some fire there. Yeah, where there's smoke. Speaking theoretically, she said to Trump, be careful how you call people names when you are in the pig pen yourself, getting ready to go up for the slaughter. She also encouraged Lucy to keep asking tough questions. I like the pig before the slaughter. I love it. She did the right thing by asking, and he wanted to intimidate her. And I pray that she fights on. He didn't just want to intimidate her. He wanted to intimidate everybody to not do anything like what she was doing. In 2018, the International Women's Media Foundation called on the White House to be more respectful towards female journalists, referencing recent demeaning language from the president against female journalists of color. Elise Lees Munoz, the executive director, told The Guardian that Trump's picky remark is more the same. President Trump's targeting of women journalists is nothing new, she said. His appearance-based insults are generated attacks meant to shut women journalists up. While name-calling may seem harmless, coming from the head of our government, it often sets in motion a torrent of abuse towards the journalist, which not only impacts her ability to work, but also sends a chilling message to other women journalists who are confronting him with hard-hitting questions. Asked for comment about Trump's insult, a White House official blamed Lucy. I wonder if that might have been Caroline with a K. This reporter behaved in an inappropriate and unprofessional way towards her colleagues on the plane, the person claimed, offering no evidence for this allegation. If you're going to give it, you have to be able to take it. That sounds like Caroline, doesn't it? When asked what specifically the reporter had done that was inappropriate, the White House did not respond. Oh my goodness, I gotta read a little bit more. This is good, but how long is this article? Oh, we're almost done, actually. Let me see if I can finish it up real quick. At this unsettling time, we hope you appreciated this article. Oh no, we're done because it just asked for money after that. Okay. One sec. It is 3:40. I think we can finish before 4. We'll try. Anna B says it's Tuesday, but can you tell me the year and the month? I'm sure it was Caroline. I know. It sounds just like her. Like nobody else sounds like that. Like that woman is such an idiot. Such an embarrassment, not just to our gender, but to our species. Am I right? All right. Where was I? I think I might be able to find where I was. Mostly what I need to do is to be here fully for my family. In recent months, Robbie and I have moved towards a healthier way of living together. At my request, he took my pain pills, on which I developed an over-reliance to soothe my physical and emotional pain, and locked them away in our safe, changing the combination. Day by day, it was as if I were stepping out of a dense fog into a clearing where I could see again. For months, he'd been handling all of our household chores, from grocery shopping to cooking, to cleaning to all the drop offs and pickups from the school. I know what that's like. You get no credit ever. Nobody ever thanks you. Now I've begun getting up early again. Recently, when Robbie said he wanted to get more serious about his martial arts practice, I told him he should spend a few mornings at the gym. I could make the kids' lunches and ferry Ellie to where she needs to go. Alex and Tyler both have their driver's licenses now. For the first time in a long time, my husband feels as if he can rely on me. That is the highest praise I could hope for. Robbie is seeing me once again, not merely as someone to take care of, but as his partner. And my children, Alex, who's 18, has graduated from high school. I've teased him that I'll never let him move out, but he is planning an independent life, probably running his own business. Tyler, now 17, is enrolled in the highest level school classes, which he is acing, and his Australian tertiary admissions rank scores, sort of like the SATs in the US, are off the charts, which means his dreams of attending university and becoming an architect may come true. And my daughter, Ellie, is the most badass teenage girl ever, and she teaches me something every day. She has joined Australia's Emergency Services Cadet Program, which teaches young people the skills needed to respond to fires, floods, and earthquakes. She's planning to be a paramedic to save people for a living, or maybe a paleontologist. Either way, she wants to learn to fly helicopters. Despite my own tomboy roots, or perhaps because of them, I'll admit there was a time when I tried to push her toward ballet lessons or the cheerleading squad. Ellie told me, no, I'd rather climb on someone's roof or rescue their dog. I'm buoyed by the knowledge that my kids will leave any realm they enter better than they found it. What more can a mother ask? Sometimes I fantasize that Ellie and I will eventually run a therapeutic horse farm together, doing for other people what Ruth Menner's Vicaramos once did for me and so many others. And we may just pull that off. Not long ago, Robbie and I bought a 45-acre farm just outside of Perth. Already, we've got 3 sheep and 3 hives of bees, and Robbie has constructed the Taj Mahal of chicken coops. When I'm there, I wake up to the laughing sound of the kookaburras and delight in watching kangaroos and emus right making themselves at home right in our front yard. Robbie's next project, building me a pond with a little island in the center. After that, we plan to convert an existing outbuilding that was once a quail hatchery into 4 horse stalls. I may never be able to ride again because of my neck, but still, I know being around horses will do me good. If you've read this far, I hope my story has moved you to seek ways to free yourself from a bad situation, say, to stand up for someone else in need, or to simply reframe how you judge victims of SA. Each one of us can make positive change. I truly believe that. I hope for a world in which predators are punished, not protected, victims are treated with compassion, not shamed, and powerful people face the same consequences as anyone else. I yearn too for a world in which perpetrators face more shame than their victims do, and where anyone who's been transported can confront their abusers when they're ready, no matter how much time has passed. We don't live in this world yet. I mean, seriously, where are those videotapes the FBI confiscated from E's house? And why haven't they led to the prosecution of any more abusers? But I believe we could someday. Imagining it is the first step. In my mind, I hold a picture of a girl reaching out for help and finally and easily finding it. I picture a woman too who is come to terms with her childhood pain, feels that it's within her power to take action against those who hurt her. If this book moves us even an inch closer to a reality like that, if it helps just one person, I will have achieved my goal. I could just cry tears of joy that the message is out there, that we finished this book together, and tears of sadness that Virginia did not live to see the aftermath of the publishing of her book. It was only published a month and a week and a day ago, I think. Maybe a month and a week and a few days ago, because it's November 18th, Tuesday. Excuse me. And it was probably Tuesday 5 weeks ago. Yeah, Tuesday 5 weeks ago that it came out. So there, I've read it twice already. That's a first for me to read a book that quickly. First of all, it's a first for me to buy a book the day it's released. It's a first for me to read it just like, you know, it took me about a week, maybe 8 days, I think, the first time. And now at 5 weeks, I'm already done reading it a second time and read the entire freaking thing out loud. That's crazy. But that's how inspired I am by this body of work. It's phenomenal. And the ghostwriter is absolutely phenomenal. I just want to say her name again. Say her name, right? It is that's funny. Where's the ghostwriter's name? I know it's at the end of the foreword, so I'll look there. A note from Virginia Roberts' collaborator, and her name is Amy Wallace. So her note that she wrote at the beginning was August of 2025. It was distributed, let's see, October 7th or 8th, whichever one was the Tuesday. I can look at my calendar on my phone real quick. October 7th was the day it was released. So a month and 2 weeks ago today. So 6 weeks ago. Not 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Exactly 6 weeks ago today. I'm glad I got that clarified. I don't like making errors. I especially don't like having to try to clean them up. And then when it's something like that, you know, like 5 weeks versus 6 weeks, it's like, is it even worth like putting in the notes and mentioning it in the next video? But I try to clean up as many errors like that as possible. But the best thing is when I can clean them up in the moment. And so I really appreciate it when you guys help me with that too. Like Anna Bees did when she was like, it's Tuesday. Hello. Bubba is the horse of G. I think so, Billy. Hello, my dear. How are you? But do you think that somebody blew Bubba and that Putin had pictures of somebody blowing the horse? I don't think so. But the brother of E, Mark, has made a public statement saying like, oh no, that was not an email about the president and the former president. And it's like, well, then why are you freaking out? You just don't want to get sued or worse, get unalived. I mean, suing is like the civilized way of kicking somebody's ass, right? I mean, you can't just go and kick people's asses in our society, but you can slap them with a multi-million or billion-dollar lawsuit, which is the equivalent. It's like trying to take someone out, basically. Very good question. It is so sad. Virginia went through so much. She did not off herself. She did an awesome job. I'm crying a little for Virginia too. Well, before I set the book down and before I forget, I want to read the part that the very end that says where to turn for help. I think that's important. Again, if just one person needs this information and wouldn't get it otherwise, and it's worth taking a moment to say, my nonprofit organization, Speak Out, Act, Reclaim, SOAR, seeks to bring to the issue of SMECS transporting and empower survivors. Our goals include strategic grant making, partnerships, and public education. SOAR's work is informed by my own journey from victim to survivor to advocate. If you or someone you love is being endangered by SMECS transporting or DV, or is considering self-unaliving, help is available. The resources below are confidential, free, and available 24/7, 365. The National Human Transporting Hotline, you can call 1-888-373-7888, or you can text Be Free, which is 233-7333. I like that. Text Be Free if you are having problems with human transporting. National DV hotline, call 1-800-799-SAFE, which is 7233. That's funny. That can't be right. That yeah, safe and free. Yeah, I was like looking at the numbers wrong. Be Free is 233-7333, and safe is 7233. Okay. And then you can text START to 88788 for the DV hotline. The 988, and you know how we have 911, now we also have 988, which is the self-harm and crisis lifeline. You can call or text 988. I think that's it. Photo credits and permission acknowledgments, and that's about it. Alfred Knopf is the publisher, with 8 pages of color photographs. Again, I can't underscore what a great investment the $32 was to purchase this book. I plan on keeping it forever. I just wish I could get it signed by Virginia. Maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to get it signed by Amy Wallace. And if you haven't had the good fortune yet of seeing Amy Wallace speak in any of her interviews, that woman is phenomenal. She's very, very articulate and sensitive and intelligent. And the way I spoke it with my biting my tongue, it might have sounded like I said insensitive when I said sensitive. She's very articulate, sensitive, and intelligent. Let's see. She did an awesome job. I'm crying a little for Virginia. No, he said that is not the right Bubba. Right, he said that, but I don't believe that that's accurate. I think he just said that as a CYA. He did not deny the truth of the email. Right. Yeah. Again, I think we need to read between the lines. Like, people are going to say a lot of things to throw off the trail, especially they don't want to get sued. They don't want to get family members rubbed out. They don't want to get followed. They don't want to get threatened. It's very real. These people are absolute thugs. It's like freaking Sopranos, man. Absolutely like Sopranos. And we know that the Clintons operated the same way, like the Sopranos. I mean, it's not a political issue. It's a bullcrap issue, right? All right, so it's 3:55, 2 hours and 8 minutes, 47 seconds. I think I'll just go ahead and wrap up so that the video is just the 2 hours and 10 minutes. And I will look forward to doing a live with you guys tomorrow, Wednesday, maybe around 1 p.m. So much to talk about, especially with the vote today. Does anybody know what happened with the vote? If it if it's even happened. I mean, I don't really think it's relevant. It's all just going to be a long, drawn out bullshit process. Trump is caught on a hot mic and then he cracks. Should we end with a Keith Edwards video? Maybe. Why don't we end with the Paula Poundstone, because she's so cute and funny. I love the Paula Poundstone, and it's quick and lighthearted, and also the Lysandra V, also quick and lighthearted. But let's start with Paula Poundstone. Let's see. Is it going to play? Or is it?
Hey, Donald Trump.
There we go.
It's just me, Paula Poundstone. Let's just play with the cat. I'm not proud of this, but there's a station that shows marathons of Law and Order SUV, the one where the crimes take place.
That I dropped my phone when I saw that you said vote passed. Woohoo! But they're still not going to do it because now they have the investigation that's going to block their ability. Rest in power, Virginia, darling. Yay. Thank you, Billy. Kylie Rodney did not drive herself into the lake. Thank you, Fred Field. I can't help but think that she could be trapped in a torture chamber in a place like anywhere, Mar-a-Lago, Epstein Island, anywhere. Try this again. Or maybe even right there in Truckee. Closer to home. Man, my phone is acting weird. I bet I'm being hacked. Eat the rich, Billy says. I bet I'm being hacked. This is bizarre.
Hey, Donald Trump. It's just me, Paula Poundstone. Let's just play with the cat. I'm not proud of this, but there's a station that shows marathons of Law and Order SUV, the one where the crimes take place in the sports utility vehicles. And I have sometimes stayed up all night watching. When the team is investigating like an abduction and the community forms a search party, the suspect often joins the search party. And there's always a scene where Benson explains to another cop that that's the profile of such a criminal. They like to kidnap someone and then get accolades for helping search for the kidnapper. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Despite economists telling you that Americans pay tariffs like a tax and that your tariffs would be a disaster, you, Donald Trump, put tariffs on tons of stuff. And of course, it's been a disaster. So you signed an executive order to eliminate tariffs on coffee, beef, and tropical fruits. So you swooped in to rescue us from you. If you're wondering about the absence of a ticker tape parade celebrating you getting us out from under the oppressive tariffs of coffee, beef, and tropical fruits, that's why. I heard you whine to Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban that when you'd only been in office for like 2 weeks, people were pestering you about egg prices. And you said to the people, I've only been in office for 2 weeks. Give me a chance. But I noticed you didn't mention to Orban that you had promised to bring down egg prices on day one. Remember we talked about the day one promises? Yeah. Hey, you know what's eating away at me? When you brought Lauren Boebert into the Situation Room at the White House with Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, and Kash Patel to try to talk her out of signing on to the discharge petition to force the vote on the Epstein files. What did you say? Is there a transcript? I would love to see the quotes from you like, I'll be your best friend. I'll tell you how Beetlejuice ends. I can get Melania to mud wrestle you for pay-per-view. She'll only do it if I ask. I do the best asking. No one's ever seen anything like the asking I do. If you do it soon, you'll get the Christmas business. You'll make millions. Donald, I'm telling you this as a friend. You are your own worst enemy. You could sue the shit out of yourself and win.
Oh my God, she's so funny. Okay, one more little laughy with the Caroline with a K, Lysandra V.
Trump, who just got done running his second ultramarathon of the day, ran into the House of Representatives without breaking a sweat and said, hey guys, what's the big deal? Vote yes. gosh, you guys have been fighting with each other. We want to release the files. I have absolutely nothing tied. Everything is out in the open. I'm the king of transparency.
Yeah, but
What?
he's been meeting with people telling them to vote no on this.
Caitlin, this is not a question and answer session yet. This is the monologue portion. Everybody knows I talk up top and then I ask questions. You are terrible at reading a room. Do I need to escort you out?
No, I just wanted to.
Okay?
I love when she hisses.
Speaking of trolls, Marjorie Trader Green, okay? If you're gonna stray from the base, you're gonna need to hire security. Sorry, okay? And it's not just because the right is dangerous. The right is right, okay? And we are just trying to make sure that everything, and also President Donald J. Trump is calling her Marjorie Trader Brown. It's because when you don't water grass, it's no longer green, it's brown and it dies, which is exactly what's happening to the support of Marjorie Trader Brown. He's so funny. Unlike Saturday Night Live, which tried to play me, and it's just not, they didn't capture me, I don't think. I'm far more beautiful, and they did capture you, though, Caitlin. It's boring. Sure.
The release of the files is really important to the American
Okay,
people.
Washington Post, I need you to please stop with that, okay? It is a Democrat hoax, okay? What are we going to get at? President Trump said, release the files. There's not a big deal, okay? Let's get over it. If we're really going to focus on what's happening, focus on Joe Biden, Barack Hussein Obama, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, and do not bring up Bill. Okay? I've seen the internet, okay? It is all farce, and that's exactly why we want the files to be released so everything can be out in the open. You are all beating a dead horse, okay? The Democrats want to make sure that President Donald J. Trump goes down because they're jealous of how successful he is. He's brought trillions of dollars to the American economy. He's brought hundreds of thousands of jobs. Is the job report available to reflect these numbers that I'm saying? No, because of the Democrat shutdown. Blame Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and all of them, okay? It's all of the Democrats' fault, and all they want is to have illegals come into this country like Obrego, Baba Era, and Caballo, okay? Sure.
Do you have thoughts on the White House being wrapped in crime scene tape by activists?
Okay, so yeah, the liberal arts degree, improv, the school dropouts did put some crime scene tape, but the only crime scene that President Donald J. Trump has ever been around is a set of Home Alone 2 Lost in New York with the Sticky Bandits, okay? And Trump, who just got done running his second ultra.
That was so freaking funny. Okay, I'm going to just wrap up quickly. I love you guys. Thanks a million for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. And hopefully we'll just have a good old-fashioned regular live tomorrow at about 1 o'clock, if that's good for you guys. Have a lovely day. Thank you for the good news, Billy. Thank you all for being here. The House voted 427-1 with only one Republican, Clay Higgins, voting no. Shame on him. Well, I'm sure that, you know, he's going to get some kind of prize from Donnie for that, right? All right. Love you guys. Drink your water, eat your protein, eat your veggies, and we'll see you soon. Thanks again.